Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of what is going to be a multi-part series on refurbishing the interior of this Mondeo. Now, if you saw in part 1, my initial plans were to try and fit the Xtype door cards along with the seats. That didn't quite pan out, so I have gone with my second option, which was to colour the door cards. So, that aside, let's get into this video. Now, what we're talking about is this wood grain effect that I have done on the parts of the dashboard. Now, this video is very long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically shorten it down for the Mondeo series, but I will do a separate video on a more in-depth look at the techniques that I used to actually obtain this burl walnut finish. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Okay then, so door cards are out, they are cleaned, and I now have them sitting in the house because it's I don't know, it's about 32 degrees out here, and I just want them warmed up prior to actually laying down some paint, which is probably going to be tomorrow anyway. So, next step is, let's just turn that off for the moment. Right, I did have a flashlight. It's really dark here this morning and not very warm because it's still early. But, okay, there we go. Now, this centre console around the gear shifter and up around the clock there, I want to remove the carbon fibre effect from there and just do like a wood grain, same as what I'm going to do on the doors. So, next step is to remove both of them. Now I think the round the clock area just prizes out, and I know I think round the centre console is the same. I'm not sure. Uh, I'm not going to set the camera up to record these. Again, there are just mountains of videos online, and so I don't see much point in actually doing that. But yeah, the carbon fibre, I like it better than the silver. I must admit, I'm not a fan of the original silver that was in these cars. This was actually done before I bought it. So, but if you look where we at down here, it's coming off there, and it's coming off there, and it's lifting there, and it's just the cup holder doesn't eject properly because it catches on the carbon fibre as it tucks into there. So yeah, I'm just gonna just remove it. So, I'm not sure. I was wondering about doing around the radio and everything as well, but I think I'll just leave that for now. I'll see how this turns out first. Anyway, let's get the camera put to one side, grab some tools, and let's get this removed. Okay, so we have them removed. Sorry about the light in here, it's just a really dark day, but yeah, I don't know if you can see, but this is predominantly held on by insulating tape and duct tape. Anyway, first things first, we're going to need a heat gun. I find that's the easiest way to remove this stuff, and secondly, we need to pop out all of these switches because I don't want to damage them. So, there we go. Okay, there's a little tab at the end of the switch. Press it in, pop the switch out. Same on this side. Tab, and out he comes. And there we go. 1 clock removed. Okay, that's it. Little bits. And there we go. So, let's get this area cleaned up and move on to the next stage. Okay, so got all the bits here. Next thing is to sand them. Now I'm basically just going to hit them with some 120 on the sander, and that should give them enough of a key for the primer to bind to. So yeah, I think what I may do is I may move this outside, so I will be back in a moment. So, got everything ready to prime. Now what I thought I would do was just go through the materials I will be using to recreate a wood grain effect. Now the first thing will be, these will be primed, so that will be the base we're working from. However, we will also be using some artist acrylic. Basically everything here except for the final gloss coating is acrylic based, so it's all water based, but it is quite what's the word, it's resilient, so it'll last a long time. Anyway, this is a black. I'm also using, now this is a Ronseal product. It's an exterior wood stain. However, I like the colour of it. It's got a nice finish to it, so that's what I'm using. Again, it's acrylic water based. Now, a couple of other things you're going to need. A good brush. This is quite a soft one. I know it's they're quite expensive, but I need that to get the good finish on the final coating. And now this is called a mop brush. Now you can pick them up in any art stores. However, if your wife has an old makeup brush laying around, you can use that. That'll do exactly the same thing. Now, a couple of other things is an old plastic carrier bag and a piece of aluminum foil, which we were going to use both of these for recreating patterns. So, first things first, I've got an electric heater here. I'm going to turn that on for a little while, get these components warmed up, because it's about 33-34 degrees in the garage here, so for good adhesion we do need these things to be warmer. So I'm going to set the camera aside for a moment, put the heater on, warm everything up here, and then come back to it in about 30 minutes. Okay, that's it. Everything is nicely primed. So what I'm going to do now is switch the fan heater on, just let it run over these for maybe an hour, just to let this dry nicely. Then it's basically, I will hit it with some 400 wet and dry just to smooth it out, and then we will begin the process of applying the wood grain effect. So that's it for now. Let's get this turned on and let's get this nicely dried. So what we need is a small container of water. Obviously you pick up one that leaks, and we want to put a small amount of water into here. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's not a lot. And we take some of our paint, our black acrylic, and again we want a small amount. a very small one. I should have had a different coloured mixing tray, but whatever. Now I want to take some of our black and just mix it with the water. This needs to be incredibly weak, because what we are going to do is, just trying out a small section. We were initially going to just, and it needs some more water in there. We also need a second clean cloth. And basically what we want to do is just be able to drip this on, and can you see how that is sitting on there? That is what we want. This is the effect we want. Now then, we need the heater on because we need this to dry quickly. So when I switch this heater on, I have also got a hot air gun there. I may use the hot air gun just to speed things along, but we'll try the heater to begin with. Now then, the other brush that we have is the mop brush, and we just need to just go around and just dab areas while this is drying. And as you can see, the effect that we are getting there Now then, while that is sitting there drying in front of the heater, move on to the next, and it's the same process again. Keep the mop brush out of the way of the heat because we don't want the paint drying onto it. Okay, so just leave that to dry. Let's get fingers cleaned up. So here we are, we've got it nice and dry now. So what we're going to do now is some of the watered down paint we've got, we want to mix up some of the black that's already out here, and it needs to be a little thicker. And just spread it around. There you go. And then we clean that off, take our aluminum foil, which we have crinkled up I don't know how well you can see that, but we want it really, really crunched up so that we get just a nice pattern on there. And we take the aluminum foil and dip it into the paint. And hopefully you should get a nice effect on our and again mop brush and just soften it out. And we want to do this in just a few areas. It's not a case of going wild with it. And mop brush and okay. So that's the second stage complete. Going to leave this to dry, and I actually hit a few more areas here before I completely commit. The whole point of this, there is really no right and wrong way to do it. It's just whatever looks good. Okay, now I'm happy. So basically that's where we're at for now. I'm going to leave this to dry and clean this up, and by the time I get this tray cleaned out and these brushes cleaned, we'll be ready for the next stage. So, meet you back. Okay guys, welcome back. So, we have our products. We've got the patterns on them and we've got them nice and dry. So the next stage is to begin adding the colour. So as I mentioned before, this is a Ronseal acrylic water-based product. Obviously you're going to go with whatever's available in your area. So let's just get the black out of the way. Now, basic technique for this is quite simple. We apply a small amount with the brush and we take our plastic bag and basically just dab, and we're going to end up getting quite a nice finish to this, and then we will build up the colour to get the tone we want. So okay guys, welcome back. Camera battery died, so I went ahead and did the next stage on these two here. So what I will do is show you what the process is to get them to that point. Now I don't have a lot of battery life left. I just give it a quick 30-minute charge, so I'm going to go through this quickly and then just leave the camera running, see what we get out of it. So first step is, let's just move those over to one side for the moment. Now then, we want our plastic bag. So we want to crumple it up. We want a crinkly area like that. Just be careful not to get any edges of handles, seams, anything of that nature. So we've got our stain and just a small brush. So basically all we are doing is just hitting the piece with the stain. Now you can just glob it on basically. This is all we're looking for at the moment is just to really ensure we get full coverage, all the edges, etc. It is quite messy, this, so be prepared for that. Just hit all these edges. Always make sure you get the edges, because one thing that looks hideous is if you get a piece put back into your dashboard and then you can see some white or whatever colour you used beneath. And again, it's just a case of just globbing it on there. We're not looking for perfect finish. Door cards will be in part 2, and then seats, etc. will be in part 3. Everywhere nicely covered. Then what we do is we take our crumpled up plastic bag and we just dab it. And that's basically it. So let's take a look at one of these that's already dry. So as you can see, there are little areas where we're getting the white bleeding through, but we're now just going to give it a nice coat of the stain. And this is where we get all of those little edges and any little bits that we've missed earlier. And this is where it really begins to come together. So I think I'm going to wrap this video up here, forgetting those all important areas. Now this is where we want to take a little bit more time, get a nice even coat on. And just pull it the full length. And there we go. So, very easy. Don't need a lot of artistic skill, you know, you can't really make any mistakes with this. Have a go, you know, like I say, it can be done on, you know, virtually any surface. The main criteria is good priming, make sure the surface is well primed, and yeah. Hey guys, welcome back. So these have been left overnight to dry nicely. However, we have a little bit of a foobar. The urethane varnish clear coats, when I've opened it up, they have now switched to water-based. I'm assuming it's acrylic of some description. This brand, last time I bought it, which was about a year ago, was still supplying urethane products. So I am not overly confident on how shiny, how much of a gloss finish we're going to get with this. I don't like these water-based clears. They tend to be they tend to give a satin finish rather than a gloss, and I absolutely wanted a gloss finish. So we're just going to have to just try it, see what happens. Well, left these for a while, and as feared, they're more of a satin finish than it is a gloss. So I'm going to hit them again. Now, in any other situation, I would have just hit the hardware store again and actually went looking for a urethane based one. But, as with everything else this year, this is all they had. And I want to get this project moving along. Like I said in one of my previous videos, I severely injured my back, and so this is kind of, I do a couple of hours, I take a couple of hours break, I do a couple of hours, I take a couple of hours break, so time is kind of the essence. So it's not as if I can just order some online and wait several days. Right, I'll let that sit for a little while and come back to it again. Well guys, there it is. I'm actually shooting this a few days after the initial video. I've been working on the back seats today, and I just thought, you know what, before I pack everything away, let's just put the dash components in. I have had them sitting in the house, to be honest, just drying. Although admittedly I am not 100% happy with them. I'm just not a fan of the water-based clears. I've never been able to get a good finish from them, or at least the depth of finish that I desire. So anyway, yeah, have a go. So worst case scenario, you can always sand it off again. So like and subscribe, and have a good one.